Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Of course, we are still here in New York City broadcasting, and I am talking to Scott from Crystal Dynamics. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Thank you for being here because we were talking about Rise of the Tomb Raider, 20-year celebration. I didn't want to get it mixed up.
That's right, 20-year celebration.
20-year celebration. Thank you so much for being here. It's
pleasure.
also very special because we were showing off your game on the PS4 Pro hardware.
Yes.
Before we get into the game specifics, because I hear you have a lot to say about the game. Before we get into that, tell me a little bit about how your team is leveraging this new hardware.
Sure. So for us, looking at Rise of the Tomb Raider, it's one of those things that, as you know, it's a beautiful looking game. These guys, crazy talent. The studio has just been focused on it. Partnered with IDOS Montreal, making the original version of it, and then we brought our Nixies partners on board and said, hey, we've got this PlayStation version for the 20-year celebration. We want to pull that together and be able to look at the PS4 Pro hardware and saying we, for the first time, can do something in 4K. And so for us, being able to say, look at what we can do, take all of these pixels and make these horizons go on forever. You can actually see this blobby mass of shadows now turn into the actual shape of a cross in the monastery that's actually on that hillside. Or you can actually see the scar on Lara's face when you actually have the camera close up and looking at her. So being able to do that type of stuff, something we hadn't been able to do before, right? Something we hadn't seen on consoles this way. So it was great for us to be able to dive in and say we can bring it to that truest version of what we want to show.
And during the conference we had here today, we kind of saw the camera pan around Lara, and we got to see some of the ways that the lighting just really pops. I mean, I feel like your team especially just does environments and lighting so well. Do you feel like that is also a benefit to you with this new hardware?
Yeah, I mean, for us, for sure. Just for the Rise of the Tomb Raider itself, we had to reinvent our lighting pipeline. Like the things we've done, we actually, with Neo, PS4 Pro, being able to add in better reflections.
We got to get used to that.
But being able to get enhanced reflections, get more dynamic foliage, be able to actually do things, even with tessellation, the curves to be smoother, because our worlds, like these brutally hostile environments, are part of the character, right? Lara's woman versus wild. She's actually fighting these places, so we need them to have that same personality that you can get from the close-ups, from the cinematics, all the things like looking at her from how the hair moves and how the eyes work, but all of that has to work in conjunction, otherwise you get this disparate game. So for us, it's some of the best in the business. We love these guys.
I love it. I love it. Now, 20-year celebration.
Yes.
You got to go big for a 20-year celebration.
That's right.
It sounds like you guys have gone big.
Yes,
with this game. Let's start by recapping a little bit of what you guys have done for the PS4 version.
Sure. So it's looking at, we already have a great game, right? So like, how do we take it, the 20 years?
You already got it's like a great sandwich.
It is, exactly, right? So we look at this, and then we've added on all this content, all this DLC, the downloadable content, starting with endurance mode, right? Well, this is our survival mode, drop you in this procedurally generated world that actually changes every time you replay it and reload it, and you're lost, you have nothing, you have to go find all the resources and craft. Well, we've added co-op to that, so now you and I can actually Tomb Raid together for the first time with all these mechanics in this endurance mode. So that's one of those new features of we can actually raid tombs and help each other out. If you die in a trap, I can revive you. So something that we hadn't done before is be able to kind of dabble in the co-op side. We've actually added in our other Baba Yaga DLC, which is our story version, more the classic, going back to the narrative, kind of supernatural elements from Tomb Raider. So that's been fun, adding that into this package. And then our third DLC pack was Cold Darkness. So this was kind of this
how much
crazy,
content
right?
did you guys do?
So adding, and we're not even done, right? So putting that in, suddenly you have this kind of these Cold War era, still in the Siberian wilderness, infected enemies that have gone crazy, and so now there's a new kind of puzzle and mystery for Lara to solve. And that's all the way up to kind of the beginning of this year, we had that stuff done. Now we've added another DLC, 420 celebration, called Blood Ties. So this is kind of that fan favorite going back to Croft Manor, saying we want Lara in an adventure storytelling world where she can actually go back to this place where she has to kind of earn it back. She's basically battling with her uncle who's trying to take it just as a property. This is her earning her inheritance. But beyond that, this is her earning her birthright. This is that kind of baton pass from what were my dad's secrets? What was he looking for, passing the baton as I find his Batcave to become my Batcave of all the secrets and all the mysteries that are in this world that I want to get through. And then on top of that, just for fun, since we already had this cool manor location, we're like, you know what? Let's add Lara's Nightmare. So you can replay this kind of zombie horde mode inside of the manor, because why not, right? We're already there, we might as well put that on top of it. Yeah. And that's not even, even beyond that, you could take Lara's Blood Ties DLC and you can play it in PSVR.
Say what, Scott?
Yeah, see? Set up for you, right? But the idea of once you're in Blood Ties, you can play it third person. We've had users come in, play it go through on third person and love it. But we've actually had those same people come back, put on the PSVR, and now play it through VR mode.
Yep.
And they take almost twice as long because they love it. They look at everything. They look at behind every tree, behind every rock, what's over here in this corner of this room. And we were like, well, they've already played it. They'll probably blow through this quickly. But in the end, they loved it. And they actually went through that kind of level of detail with it. That on top of character skins, I don't know if you've seen some of the classic skins we're adding in there. So you have the low polygon Lara, like an original version of Lara. We had fans vote on the kind of character skins they wanted. So playing in this 4K version with an original low poly Lara.
Kind of some beautiful irony
there. It is. It's a weird juxtaposition. Like, this cinematic's awesome. And then the low poly Lara pops up. Like, okay. So putting all that together, we're over 50 hours of content now with everything slammed on top of it, all the replay modes, expedition mode, cards you can make your own missions. I mean, just crazy amount of stuff inside of this package.
But is there like a birthday cake? I mean, it's a 20-year celebration.
There's no official birthday cake.
Okay,
no,
so it does not come. It doesn't ship with a cake.
It does not ship with a cake. Sorry.
You know what? Maybe for the 30-year celebration.
So it only has some TRC standards. We can't ship cake in a box. There's some store shelf life thing.
Somehow it might not be safe for the consumer.
May not be safe to consume.
So then let's go back to the game, the basic experience, because as you were saying that you guys built on that.
Yep.
I mean, tell me a little bit about what it was like to return to Lara's story here in Rise of the Tomb Raider. And do something that was such a critical success.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, certainly for us, this is the true sequel from our 2013 reboot of Lara Croft. So partner with Eidos Montreal, with Crystal Dynamics, together we've taken her story and extended that. This is the first kind of tomb raiding expedition Lara has been on. So this has gone from being a survivor to now being kind of that ascending the path for being a Tomb Raider.
Right.
So this is her saying, I found some of my dad's old diaries, I found some old notes, and actually I want to follow this path that he started laying out, and she found one word. She's found Trinity. It's like, who's Trinity? Who's this mysterious group of bad guys that somehow are connected to my father, and what does it mean? So exactly, so now you have this tingling feeling like, ooh, there's a mystery to unravel, and she finds this name, this lost city of Katesh. Great kind of tapping into the Siberian wilderness and taking her into a completely different element than she'd been in before, right on Yamatai, the island, and trapped and Survivor. Now, this is the woman versus wild charging into this location and saying, I'm on a quest, I'm after the truth, I want to find this. So we get to see her ascending along that path to becoming the Tomb Raider.
That's amazing. And of course, I mean, an amazing looking game. Again, just both on the PS4 standard model and on PS4 Pro, which I like to reiterate is that you'll be able to play the 20-year celebration on both consoles, and it's going to look amazing.
It all comes in the one box.
Tell me just a little bit, give me just a little bit of insight before we start to wrap up about your team in terms of the art, technical, engineering. I mean, how do all these teams kind of mesh together to create something that just seems so crisp and beautiful?
Well, thank you for that. You're
welcome.
One of the things, like a philosophy for us as the studios, right? The screen doesn't lie.
Yeah.
So we all look at it. If it's great on the sticks, it's great on the screen, then it's real. And so we constantly push ourselves. We did it with Definitive Edition when we actually had done that for our first kind of entry into PS4, and then looking at PS Pro and saying, what can we do now? Everything from the visual quality and the aesthetics to even 3 different viewing modes. So if you don't have a 4K TV, like this beautiful thing behind us, which is awesome, right?
You don't have this in your...
I don't have that one in my office yet. So Sony...
I mean, I could ask.
If Sony's asking, we'll take one home with us. We got it on the plane somewhere.
It has to fit in your suitcase.
Yeah, I don't know. We fold it. But looking at the 4K resolution, but we also have 2 other viewing modes if you don't have 4K, but you have a PS Pro. We have a 1080p, we call it high frame rate mode. So we actually lock you at 1080p, but unlock the frame rate. And so you can go north of 45 frames or better. So it's that really smooth, silky play that if you're a speedrunner, particularly if you want just that really great, crisp action sequences, there's a mode for that. And then if you move over a notch on the slider, which you can switch anytime during the gameplay, you go to Enhanced Visuals mode. Enhanced Visuals is 1080p locked and locked at 30 frames, but we throw every rendering technique we have at it. The entire kitchen sink is in there for multi-pass rendering and shading and PBR lighting, like everything we can do to just up the resolution of the pixel quality inside of the game. And then, of course, you have 4K, which just you can see for miles.
Oh, man, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. Before we wrap up, I just want to ask, what is maybe big takeaway, Scott's favorite pick of what is coming in the future of gaming, and especially with the PS4 Pro hardware? This
is the future of gaming, right? This is a month away, right? October 11th, so we're still a month and a few days, man. So for me, this is the future right now.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it. And, of course, thank you, everyone, for watching at home. We will have more coming up pretty soon here from the New York City event. So please do not go anywhere. Stay with us.
PlayStation